Hi everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Singapore Slack community chapter. I would love to give some brief updates about Singapore Slack chapter group. Um, Initially, it was me. I've been almost 1.5 year where I've been leading into the Slack group. Now we have one more leading person in Singapore, which is Lawrence Fitch, and he's one of the brilliant person, and he's very knowledgeable in Slack, and he's works in Slack for the last couple of 5-6 years in Salesforce Slack. And I would love to introduce himself, and then after that we can quickly introduce myself, and then we can start. Lawrence, you're there. Okay, maybe I'll make him as a presenter so that he'll. Okay, maybe he is not here. No problem. I think, yeah. So Lawrence is a new person who's co-leading along with me. He's a co-founder at Bright, and as you already know and aware of me and myself, Anindra, and I'm a founder and CTO at Value Hub. So I've started my venture recently, in the last 2-3 days back. So it's a quite exciting journey for me, and was really looking forward to working with everyone who needs some advisory services on Slack and Salesforce. That's all from my side. Uh, Today our topic would be, we can talk about how we could grow our business with Salesforce integrations for Slack. So we'll understand what are all the latest innovations in Slack. So way back we've been talking only on Salesforce Slack for Sales Cloud, and we have seen how we can integrate Salesforce with Slack as well. But now we have came across a lot of tools inside Slack for Salesforce. We will elaborate what are all the things which is going to happen. The most important thing is, unfortunately, the use cases that have been planned for one of the org has been, it's my previous org. My org is connected to the previous company email where I couldn't be able to log in into it. So apologies for that. So definitely, I'm going to talk about some typical use cases in this session, but I would love to record the session again on sometime next week or after that. So probably you can see the real-time demos on all the products that what we have been built on the Salesforce Slack. But for today, we would cover much of functional things. And later point of time, I would love to upload one more recording video in my channel so that you could be able to take a look as well, right? So today our agenda would be, we'll have some quick introduction, and then we'll talk about Salesforce apps for Slack. What are all the apps available in Slack directory? And we can talk about how sales, service, and marketing can benefit from the Slack plus Salesforce combinations. So I put some use cases way back. I put some use cases for sales, but now I come up with some service cloud and marketing cloud combination, which is digital center, command center for marketing cloud. And if any Q&A, probably could put some Q&As inside the chat box so that whenever I'll get a time, I'm going to answer those questions as well. So it's a small session, but it should be more interactive. If anyone has any questions, you could feel free to put in Q&A so that I'll be happy to answer those questions. If not, I'll work with the respective SMEs and I'll get some answers for all these questions, right? So about myself, as a today's speaker, so I'm a Salesforce MVP and I'm a two-time Salesforce marketing champion. As I've said, the last few days, about 2-3 days back, I've been started my own firm, which is Value Hub. It's a Singapore-based company, and which has been available, and we have a delivery centers in Philippines and India. So I'm just leading a couple of inches out there, and then I'm a Trailblazer community group leader, Singapore. Slack community group leader, Singapore, and I'm an enterprise class cloud solutions architect. I'm a level 1 CDA certified, a Salesforce certified technical architect. You can follow me on Twitter at Arigachetta, and then you could follow me on LinkedIn as well. And we could talk about more on a couple of new innovations about Slack, new innovations about Salesforce. So you can ping me on any questions you have, any services you require from my side. Yeah. Thank you. So most important thing. So you can, all throughout the session, you can mention us in your tweets with a hashtag, which is at the rate Arigachetta, at the rate Slack and Slack community, hashtag Slack community, hashtag Slack. And you could stand a chance to win us back. So I'll just stay here a bit. anyone has really wanted to promote us and our Slack Trailblazer community group of Singapore. So and then you could see how I how a person can more interactive while posting the tweets and the Twitter channels. I'll be more happy that I could give some swag, and then we could take it up from there. All right, so let's move on. So Salesforce apps for Slack. I'm sure that So everyone, we were so excited from the last couple of years when Slack have been acquired, when Salesforce have been acquired by Slack with the hoping amount, which is 1 billion almost, and so we already have a significant amount of hands-on with the Slack so far because companies have been using Slack and a lot of companies have been moving into Slack. And at the same time, a lot of companies have been engaging on Salesforce for working with their CRM, working with their different kind of a products inside Salesforce CRM. But I personally feel like from the last 1 year, like so it's been growing heavily from a Slack point of view. Every company, as I know, every small company or big company, so they started using Slack. So that was very cool features we have in Slack, and now it's being a day-to-day kind of an activity. So believe me, when I was almost 1.5 year back, I was more used to Microsoft Teams, and I was more used to Skype and other areas. But now for the last 1 year, so the changes have been made in my life, which is turning out to be Slack, because I've been more addicted to the Slack to understand the alerts, to understand all the notifications, the Slack builder. So I've been working on some of the apps, especially on Slack, for third-party external integrations using SDKs and other areas, especially. But imagine, we're all working, we're all innovators, you're all trailblazers, you're all innovators to me, and you do a lot of things while you learn your entire career on CRM systems, or maybe it's a Salesforce, maybe it's an Azure, or it's a different Salesforce, it's a different CRM systems. But one thing is common across, it's a CRM, like customer relationship management, which came across to provide how you provide a customer centric self-service experience from a customer standpoint. Which is the best tool available inside a market, where how people can definitely leverage that tool to bring their potential ROI from the tool perspective, right? So that's where the productivity comes into the matter. So when the productivity comes into the matter, Slack is one of the best productive tool that what I've seen so far, which is in terms of uh, how addicted that what I can bring the value as. So you could see plenty of apps from the day when we started integration with the Salesforce. I've seen Sales Cloud is one the long back way back when I given demo on the same community integration Salesforce with Slack, and then I've showcased how we could integrate Salesforce Sales Cloud with Slack and all. And after that, there are a lot of things have been the product has been matured. There are a lot of things have been coming into the picture, right? You could see Sales Cloud for Slack, and you could see partner relationship management for Slack, Service Cloud for Slack, CRM Analytics for Slack, Financial Service Cloud for Slack, Trailhead Slack app, Digital Command Center, which is Marketing Cloud engagement. If you look at the way back, it's a one-two kind of a product, but now you could see day by day, or the release by release of Salesforce, which is eventually put their best effort to make it more preferable from the CRM standpoint, the Slack standpoint. You could see like total almost like 7 to 8 apps have been came into Slack app directory. So the biggest question, what is Slack app directory? So all these apps which you could found inside your Slack app directory. So you could look at your Slack app. Look at your Slack app directory. So it is just something like our app exchange for Slack. You could see all the top apps that you could directly integrate, because a lot of partners, a lot of app exchange people who was is going to build all these apps where they could publish like a Slack apps. Here you can see different kind of an apps collection like Office 365, Atlassian, workflows. You can build your own workflows, Salesforce for Slack. There are different categories. There are different applications have been available for different categories. There are some enterprise companies who build their apps, enterprise ready apps, working from home, daily tools, and all the stuff. So out of this, the biggest thing where how you could start your integration, right? So it's very simple that you could just search with here. You can went to Slapback directory, and then you can just search with your Salesforce, because this is what my workspace actually, because you need to be any integration actually. When you start with building any integration, you need to build your own workspace, your company's workspace or your personal workspace. So if you look at, this is my Value Hub workspace, and I've been logging with my Value Hub as well. This is my workspace. And if within the workspace, if I enter Salesforce, by trying to enter Salesforce, you could see how many number of results which is coming down with Salesforce for Slack, right? And you could see different sales digital command center, the tool which can monitor, which can smartly proactive monitoring for the Salesforce Marketing Cloud as an application. And after that, you could see here, we have Equip, which you could integrate Equip, Sales Cloud for Slack, CRM Analytics for Slack, Service Cloud for Slack, and you could see some other apps, especially on I could see Financial Service Cloud for Slack, CR Financial Service Cloud for Slack, and could see a couple of other, yeah. So these are some of the Slack apps which is available in the current Slack app directory, where you could just click on this app and then you could start identifying what this is going to be available, what kind of features that this financial deals, of how we could execute the financial deals efficiently, and how we could capture the client information, follow-ups, collaborations, and other deal items, right? So this can bring out different features about, you can create and view records from Slack, and then you could see how different kind of shortcuts going to be help us for slash commands, and the permissions required through permission sets in Salesforce. And you could see the beauty of the Slack would be, it's not only for productivity kind of a tool, it also gives your vulnerability perspective as well in terms of your security best practices, because each and every app comes with the pure proper security and compliance in nature, while sharing your company's or your customers' data. That gives a more confident about an enterprise application like Slack, which can bring out a lot of privacy, data governance, certification, compliance. So so that's the biggest question, where when you sell something, so the customers will ask a question like, how secure the app would be, how vulnerable the app would be. So you can go and then submit this documentation, so that it's very easy that you could see there is different kind of compliance here, ISO compliance, GDPR compliance, and your data deletion request procedures. All this is a part of your day-to-day enterprise application process deployments. So it's a good that so everything is in one place, so that it feels our work is so hassle free when it comes to connecting any app which is sitting on Slack, and which you can integrate with Salesforce CRM, right? So this is how we should start with integrating your Salesforce apps for Slack. And you could see different kind of an apps, where the only thing is that you could see you need to have workspace with your companies, like your Value Hub, or you need to have workspace for your own personal account, which you have to start doing integration. So that's most important prerequisites, one of the thing. Yeah. So let's go back to our slide. So if you look at different, I'm going to share this slide deck with you all. So the good things is, when I put some hyperlinks over here, so which automatically take you to help, Salesforce help and documentation, which talks about what are all the Sales Cloud for Slack available, how Sales Cloud can bring couple of how Sales Cloud as an application to integrate for Slack, and how it can helpful for your customers. What are all the use cases for Slack that we could talk about in the next slides. So the simple Sales Cloud, which is gonna put some stay on top of your sales directly from Slack, from a partner relationship management, especially on your community cloud for the partners. You could collaborate on deals and improve partner engagement within the partner management from Slack app. And for a service cloud, you could spam on customer issues directly from Slack. From an analytics perspective, you could bring data to every conversation with the CRM Analytics app for Slack. From a financial service cloud, you could access the financial data while continuing to collaborate with the teams on Slack, which is more critical data. You can go and then find out, you can create and view the records from the Slack, and then you could be able to update the records and all these activities from the financial service cloud perspective. And our favorite Trailhead Slack app, which is going to be available soon, that is such, you can search favorite and share a Trailhead material. You could put some links directly from Trail with a slash option from a Slack, and that gives your internal teams, because you're going to create a channel, right? So in the channel, where you could talk on different kind of see, let's take an example. You're going to create a sales channel to work with your sales, and then the sales needs some training in terms of what kind of a best training trial mix material that he's been onboarded recently, and you would love to have provide some material for him to upgrade on sales pitches and all the stuff, where you could put some slash and then automatically assign some workflows for him to assign some trial materials, which is readily available content that react in Slack as well from a digital command center, which is a marketing cloud. So you could easily monitor your marketing cloud engagement automations, and you could easily customize your interface to detect and make some immediate actions on errors and abnormal activities. Just start with your pre-configured rules, because there are different pre-configured rules available as a part of digital command center for Slack that gives a lot of alerts and call to action features. And I think I would request to go through digital command center. It's one of the best apps for integrating for marketing cloud for Slack. So we have a session in our YouTube recording. We have a session which is already where we elaborated last time with Akash. He explained a bit about how marketing cloud for Slack help you out, and what is the entire process of setup, how to activate the marketing cloud command center, everything. So I think you could go through the existing YouTube recording session, which you could see more number of options what he has been explained from a granular level to make it more admin to configuration and the customizations, how to design the rules, how to create an alerts and different actions. All he has explained in one session. So I'm going to give you the links in the later point of time. You can just take a look, and then you can just see how he has been designed, develop all these solutions. Right. So let me see if anyone has any questions. I'll see if anyone has any questions. Voice is not coming. Can you see? Can you hear now, Tarun? Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. Yeah, so these are all some of the Salesforce apps for Slack. I'm sure that while you're going home after the session, I'm pretty sure that you could try something, connections and connectors, and then how you could build it for your industry use cases. I would personally believe, requesting everyone to go inside and then check it out so that you could see some benefits out of it as well. Yeah. So let's talk about, so in this session, we would love to go ahead and talk about what are all the typical use cases from a sales cloud and from a service cloud and for a marketing cloud. And then we could see if anything that we're missing out, so we could, collaboratively talk together, and then we could be able to work it out in the later point of time. So once I'll get my org back, I'm gonna record one more session to talk about how these fantastic use cases can benefit for our day-to-day lifetime, and then how we could leverage Slack as a productivity tool from our day-to-day lives. Yeah. So let's talk about Sales Cloud for Slack. uh, I know there are people, there are teams which just really struggle to find out initially when we don't have a Slack, right? So what they do is they'll go to the CRM, and then so I now we have all this flows automations, and we have custom notifications. We do have an alerts and all this, but way before we don't have as such. The people who are traveling all together now, every business person is using Slack, for every customer is using Slack. So if you ask me a typical sales team use case, especially on integration with the Slack, so the number of alerts which we could predominantly gonna build, number one is like, so lead alerts. Like if any of the lead has been creating in Salesforce, so we can be able to create a workflow, and then we could be able to alert them in our inside Slack channel, because if a customer or a sales team, they don't need to log in with the Slack. So they could quite simply sit with Slack, and then they could see all the lead notifications, the lead alerts. At the same time, so an option that we could, see the inbound leads, and we would be able to log your calls and meeting notes directly from Slack. And the sales can listen to sales calls that create an opportunities in Salesforce right from the Slack. So they don't need to go inside Salesforce, and they could update the record updates directly from Salesforce as well. And they can update the record, and they push the data to Salesforce directly, and they could receive some opportunity closed on alerts. They could fetch some update account data, and if they want to modify any account data, so they could fetch the account record inside Slack, and then they could update the data and then push the data back to Salesforce. And you can see opportunity approvals. how we could send an opportunity record back to Slack, and then how we could assign the record to a sales team, and then how sales team can approve the record directly from Slack. And at the same time, you could send reports from Salesforce to Slack as well. So you could see all these reports from a management perspective, the C-level management team. You could send the reports to your Slack, your sales manager. Yeah. So all these things is going to be possible using Sales Cloud for Slack. So if you have, if you're gonna try it out, I would request you to try it out all these use cases, which is going to be beneficial for all our productivity incentive perspective. Yeah. So let's talk about some examples, especially on I've seen something is in Trailhead. So I brought this from Trailhead where it definitely gives some value addition for a session. So consider an example how we can use our integration Slack, Salesforce for Slack, especially on Sales Cloud, to secure a customer signature. So imagine that in a typical CRM, in Salesforce CRM, what we do is we have an opportunity. We have different stages of an opportunity from prospecting to negotiation, from the quotation and then closing. In typical CRMs, we know we can assign that opportunity to multiple opportunity owners if require multiple opportunity owners, and then we could go and nurture them to the different stages until we code. We'll create a quotation, and then we'll create a contract, and then we could uh, you know uh, create a contract using a code template, and then we could be able to send the code to customer via an email component, right? So that's what the typical process in typical Salesforce CRM. But when it comes to our Slack, so how easy that we could combine all the teams. But in Salesforce, if you want to build everything, so what will happen is we have internal approval process, and then the approvals will goes to different departments. You have to spend the dollars to your different users licenses and all. But when it comes to Slack, if you look at the number one, first an approval notification flows through your channel, number one, on certain opportunity. And this channel where sales team can collaborate with finance, legal, revenue operations, and sales operations to work on the deal. What the sales rep can do is as the next step. So they'll initiate the huddle with the account and legal teams to discuss the potential readiness, uh, what is required from a customer to see, and what needs to be sent to customer, and then they could virtually collect together with all the process, and then they'll eliminate some of the confusions, and then ensuring no parts of the contract falls to the cracks and all. And after that, what they do is the rep can use integrated third-party digital signature tool to send the updated proposal to the customer for signature and an approval. So it's like three-step process. You don't require multiple steps. You require three steps because you have channel. Number one, Slack channel. Number two is like you can create a room where you could sit and talk together. You can create a rooms inside Slack where you could invite all the teams to get the things done. The number three is to after the kind of discussion with 15-20 minutes, so you could be able to design the contract, and then you could be able to send a third party signature tool via Slack, and then you could get the customer feel happy, and then you can, once you get an approval, you can update directly from opportunity from here to there. You can just change the stage of opportunity to a closed one. So that's a simple example, especially on how we could integrate a secure customer signature from Salesforce to Slack, and from Slack to Salesforce, how we could update the records back to them. Yeah. Let's talk about Service Cloud, right? So this is something where the customer experience comes into the matter once the contract has been signed, and then next thing is how we could support your customers on on meeting your SLAs and all the stuff. How we could provide your customer experience using Service Cloud via cases, your solutions, your articles, your SLAs, your milestones, and all this comes into the factor of Service Cloud, right? So the best thing Service Cloud for Slack app is, number one is that you can create cases from Slack channel, especially because when you're talking customer, when you're talking customer through Slack, so you have an option, you can go on and create a case. You have a workflow that you can create a case from Slack directly, and at the same time, you could search and edit the respective case record directly in Slack, and then you could collaborate more easily with Slack with the customer cases. So you can create a record from Slack, especially on you have a workflow that I've told. You can just enter the details about the subject and put some case details, and then you could be able to send. That will automatically goes to an agent, and then agent can respond to the customers via an auto respond emails. So all these things can be done with this spamming. So that is one of the best use case for enabling because your sales have been sitting in Slack, and then the sales is closely working with customer after the dealing, after the closing deal as well. The sales is working on potentially put some more products on top of customers' uh, product base. So this is a way that the sales can create a case from Slack, and an agent can reply quickly with an auto responder and all this stuff. It's the same thing. You can go and then search and edit the existing customer instance, and then it could be able to update some information as well. It could be able to collaborate those cases, which is more easier from an incident alert perspective. So these kind of a things where you could be able to uh, build some service cloud use cases for Slack. Yeah. So these are some of the use cases, and we could use the similar use cases for field service lighting as well. Field service lighting where agents is working on the field, and then the same thing they can able to create a work orders, service appointments, and those it's a native standard, right? So you could be able to use those objects where you could be able to create some workflows and alerts, and then you could be able to send those instance back to your Slack as well, because your agents are using Slack again. So it's a best benefit for everyone to think through about those kind of use cases. There is no native app for field service lighting for Slack, but I think I was I was just more curious to understand the benefit of Slack and leverage those kind of use cases to build some workflows and alerts as well, right? So that's a service cloud for Slack. Let's talk about marketing cloud for Slack. So this is a final slide. So marketing cloud for Slack, especially on we are. I'll tell you something about marketing cloud, especially. Um, Still, I mean, there is still a problem, the same problem what we have in marketing cloud. uh, when you're working with enterprise companies, right? So enterprise or either ESMB companies as well, nowadays everyone using at least 2 to 3 business units for their transaction and commercial kind of a business model. From a marketing cloud center, I purchase a marketing cloud org. Okay, I purchase a marketing cloud org, and predominantly what I need is I have my marketing team who's sitting in Singapore and Philippines and India, right? So I would love to start a marketing campaign in Singapore, and my agency of digital content agency sitting in Singapore, and my channel manager sitting in Singapore to validate entire marketing campaign details, and my developers are sitting in India, right? The same time, Philippines has their own agency to design the content, and they have their own channel manager, campaign manager, and then same like India as well, right? So the biggest problem that what we have is in Salesforce, when you create a campaign, we have when you create a campaign and then we have a content has been designed for Philippines, and the manager who's sitting in somewhere in France, and we would love to have some approvals from the manager perspective, right? So what will happen is, so if my manager leveraging marketing cloud, I have an option that I could send my content to an approval through an approval process inside marketing cloud, and my manager sitting in my content manager sitting in France, where you can see where he or she can see the content, and she can see some validations, and then she'll provide some comments, and then she'll decline or reject my approval process record, and then I can go and then rework on those elements. But reality, this is for single use case from a content perspective. But if you look about not only for the content, but you want to see the different content options from different language email templates, where I have a template for Singapore, I have a template for France, I have a template for US, one template for different countries altogether. So I want to do a lot of translation approvals from one single template, where I would love to create all those templates, and I would love to send her to an approval process, right? So it's all tedious when she has to log into the portal and she has to see what kind of content has been designed and all this stuff. But a manager level person who's going to be logging into marketing cloud and working on all this approval, multi-step approval kind of a process, I want to design like a multi-step approval process where, okay, content is submitted and it'll go to my level 1 marketing manager, level 2 will go to my legal, level 3 will go to my compliance, level 4 will go to my agency, level 6 is going to approved and then deliver it to the developer account. So like 6 to 7 approvals I want to manage. So with all these approvals, actually, so we don't have any out of the box feature currently in Salesforce Marketing Cloud. So the only specialty in Marketing Cloud would be we have is like one step approval process. You're gonna send to your approve manager. If she can approve or reject, that's it. It's not going to be go with the further level approvals. So with the Slack, what you could do is you could, build some campaign level content, and then you could be able to design your customer journey. And before you could, use the content into your main approval process. So using Slack channel is, you can see multiple people where you could assign the record, and then once there are different teams where they'll get notifications, and then they could see all those in a step-by-step process, and then they could get some alerts and approvals right in Slack, and then you could see a project running very smoothly from approval content perspective. So that's one of the area where I would love to really interested, because this feature of approvals and all very much needed from an enterprise companies, where this is where we were so calling about how we could mitigate all this request, and how we could indulge towards leveraging Slack for marketing, to design for digital command center, leverage the digital command center for making our life easier using content approval process. So that's what for the marketing cloud for Slack, and uh, that's all we have for today. And any questions, I'm feel free to happy to answer those questions. We have our next session. It's our in-person event session. So we have our in-person event, which is happening in 28th September. We'd love to talk about more details. It's like training and Dreamforce showcase. It's a breakfast morning Slack training sessions led by Jacob, a Slack veteran, and we would love to talk about best practices and Dreamforce updates, Canvas, hurdles, UI, Slack, GPT, and all those. We would love to talk about it. It's going to happen on 28th September between 9:30 to 11 at WeWork office, Suntech. You can just scan this QR code, and then you can join the next event, in-person event. I would really love to see you people there. And then we'll have some in-person training, breakfast, and all some good food and snacks as well, right? So that's all for today, team. And any question, I'm happy to help you out. And once again, thank you all for joining with us today, and have a good rest of the weekend. Let me see if anyone has any questions. Are you planning to have it virtual as well? No, Ankit. Unfortunately, we don't have any virtual. That's one actually. Can we do both Jira and Slack together in DevOps? Yeah, you can do it, Taran. So we have Atlassian, we have a Jira that we could integrate the external apps with Slack, and then we could be able to send some DevOps notifications to the release management, especially. I think a lot of people are leveraging Slack as a part of it. I'm pretty sure that it can be something very useful from a DevOps centric perspective. Thanks everyone for joining. If any questions, I'll happy to help you out, or else I'll stop the recording for now.